Hi Stampers, this is Melissa with Stampin' with MJ, and I just wanted to show you a new technique that I learned this weekend. This is using embossing folders and the debossed side of the image. So let me show you what I did here. Here's a close-up, and I also embossed my envelope to match. So I'm going to put those aside, and I'm going to bring in, this is the botanical embossing folder from Close to My Heart. It is retired, but I was playing with this technique and had to try it. So I embossed it, and this is the embossed side. You can see that the image is raised. We're going to flip it over and use the debossed side, or the side that goes in. So all this white area is what's raised, and the image goes down in the paper. Hope that makes sense. All right, I'm going to bring in a piece of paper just so I'm not getting everything gunky. I am not going to make you watch me color this whole thing. I'm just going to start it, and then I have an image that's already colored for you. So I'm using tri-blend markers. These are alcohol markers. And I'm using the mid-tone of the hydrangea blend. And I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to start coloring this flower. I'm not being very careful. I do end up going out of the lines. It's going to look like a huge mess. Don't worry. Because our next step is going to hide everything. I'm even going over the raised images on the veins of the petals. Or the detail lines. I'm not sure if they're veins. They're not leaves. So, okay, so I've got my flower colored in with the middle tone. Now I'm going to use the darker tone and add some highlights. And again, I'm just kind of being quick about it. I'm not being very careful. And it's not going to matter. Okay. So there's my colored flower. I am going to go back with the mid-tone and just kind of go over the ends because it blends it a little bit better. So it doesn't look so stark. Okay. So there's the flower. Then I'm going to take the gold yellow blend, and again I'm using the mid-tone, and there's little stamen in here. I don't even know if you can see them. Little stamen. And I am going to color each of those. Again, I'm not being real neat, but I do want to make sure I get the full dot, because once you go over it with the next step, you will see anything that you didn't get colored. So that's the one thing you got to be careful about. All right, now I'm using the citrus green blend, and I'm going to use the mid and the dark tones of this. So the stem, oh, maybe I'll use the dark tone. There we go. So there's like a little, it almost looks like a bow, but it's where the greenery attaches to the flower. And then there's a stem, and I'm using the dark for that. Okay. And then I'm just going to do one leaf for you. Hopefully I'm still on screen. Okay, so I'm doing the bottom part of the leaf in the darker tone. Again, I think I went outside of the line. Doesn't matter. Then I'm going to use the mid-tone, and I'm going to do the upper part of the leaf. Okay. So doesn't look like a whole lot right now. Let me show you when you have the whole thing colored. Through the magic of television, here's the one that's finished. It kind of looks like a mess. You can see here I got the wrong color in there at one point because I was coloring all the leaves first and thought that was another leaf because they start to look the same after a while. But let me show you what we're going to do next. We're going to take a black ink pad, and I'm using a Memento ink pad. I would use the intense black ink if you're using Close to My Heart ink. So this works well with the alcohol markers. That's why I'm using the Memento ink. But I'm just going to lightly, I'm not pressing down at all. I'm just rubbing the ink over the whole image. See how the raised veins of the leaves and petals of the flowers are now coming out? And I'm just going to do that to that whole image. So here you can see there's one I didn't color. That's why it's not filling in with the black. So if you have little pieces on the edges, you want to make sure you get those colored as well. And you can go back after you're done filling in with the black and fill in any white spaces that show up after you do this part. Okay, so I'm just covering that whole thing. Now, one thing I would suggest, because you're going to get ink all over your fingers, is to take a Post-it note and hold the other side down so that you're not getting so inky. Okay, so I'm just, again, coming in here and filling everything in. Now, I wouldn't just keep going back and forth over it. Once you get most of it filled in, it's fine. It doesn't need to be a solid black, but you'll get that effect. And look at how fantastic that looks once you add the black ink. So I do see a couple of areas, like over here, I didn't get the stamen. So I'm just going to go back and fill that in. And then I think I saw a couple of places in the purple that show a white edge. See this one here has a white edge. So I'm just going to go back over that. And it's nice because the black kind of hides any blemishes that you left behind, like if you over colored outside of the lines, you didn't get it quite neat when you colored. It's very forgiving with that black ink. Okay, so again, let me show you. This is what we started with. We used the debossed side, not the raised side, colored in our images, and then went over it with the black ink. And then here is the finished card. Absolutely gorgeous. You can do this with any embossing folder. I tried it with several, and I even made a box for them to go in. And let me show you the other cards. So here's some of our retired embossing folders that I used, and they're just beautiful. I would suggest letting these dry for a few minutes before you try to adhere them to a card front, because you are getting a lot of ink on there, so it will need some time to dry. But I hope that helps you and that you try this technique, because it's fun, it's addicting. As you can see, once I started, I just kept going. But enjoy the technique and post what you do in the comments. I would love to see what you do. Have a great day.